Hi, folks. With Tacitus today, excuse me, Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about a debate that won't stop and a discussion that simply won't go away, and that's the skilled worker or H1B visas, as they're called in the United States. Now, I thought this would be sort of done and dusted by now, but it rages on. Some of the arguments I've heard in favour of it are just fucking ridiculous. There's one video I was listening to earlier on where this guy, who's himself a migrant, he asserts that well, if we don't bring in all these massive number of geniuses that are everywhere, that are only in brown and black countries, by the way, suddenly the only source of geniuses is brown and black countries, corrupt basket case countries. They're that's where geniuses are to be found. That they, if we don't into the United States, if we don't bring them to the United States, then they're going to start up these businesses in India and Pakistan and Nigeria. They're going to start a business there who will be hugely successful on a global scale, and they'll just swamp the United States, and the United States will just become a backwater where all we do is pick oranges and till the fields, because those genius places like India and Nigeria and fucking Ivory Coast and they're the place. That's all the genius intelligence is going to be. They're the places that are the go. What? This guy can't have been out of his own village to come out with that sort of idiocy. It's and the fact that he even gets a hearing, that he's allowed to put it out, and well, not allowed. I mean, since it's an opinion, of course he's allowed to put it out. But anyone would give it any credence or would even bother to listen to crap like that is certainly beyond my comprehension. Now, I'm very well travelled all over the world on business, so I've been to these places, and I've been to. I know how corrupt they are. I've walked over the dead bodies in the street and noticed firsthand or seen firsthand that these are failed states. If it wasn't for the vast handouts they get from the West, they would be super failed states, mega failed states. So they're only partially failed states as a result of the propping up they get. But the idea that failed states corrupt basket case countries like where corruption and all sorts of bribery are just standard. You can't walk around the corner or walk around the block or take a shit without having to bribe someone in these places. So the idea that this is going to be the launching pad for the genius, successful tech businesses of the future is insane. So anyway, let's just have a look at that. So now we look at 95% of all the PhDs. You could even add to that advanced education and largely, not completely, merit-based education in STEM. I'm talking here, I'm not talking about gender studies PhDs or lesbian studies or PhDs in lesbian dance theory or something. I'm talking about STEM degrees. The 95%, in fact, over 95% of the STEM PhDs, and you can include masters in that, are produced in the Western bloc. So if you're not talking the United States, then you're talking about places like, say, much smaller populations, of course, places like Germany and Switzerland and Norway and so on. So you're talking about France, Britain. You're talking about the Western bloc generally, and Northern Italy, for example, produced a lot of engineering PhDs. So there's a lot of nearly every advanced STEM PhD country where people are largely, at least, gaining these PhDs on rigor and merit, high standard of rigorous education. And they're people that have achieved and reached the highest standards of education, PhDs in everything from rocket science to metallurgy and computer science and the list goes on, physics, chemistry, and so on. So these are the people, pure maths. These are the people who are going to a very large extent, be the sort of geniuses that the companies or the H1B visa exponents. That's the level. Now they're saying that we need the H1B because the very best and brightest in the world don't come from the United States. Okay, all right, let's accept that. Well, if they don't come from the United States, then 95, 96% of them will come from other Western countries. So now, how many geniuses do you need to do what you want to do? So, do you need a million rocket scientist geniuses with quadruple PhDs? But no, you don't. The very people, the geniuses at the apex, you don't need very many. You never need very many, nor are there very many to pick from. So now there are many, many bright, hardworking, very capable people that wouldn't be at the genius level. They aren't going to invent the cure for cancer or design the rocket that goes to the next solar system, but they will do a lot of the very serious legwork in making that happen. But they're not the geniuses. Now, they will also pretty much all be found in the West. That they'll be found in the advanced technological economies of the Western world. That's where they'll be found, where not only is advanced technology all around them in every part of their lives that they've been brought up with since the day they were born, but they're also attending educational institutions where rigor and merit are how you get your PhD. If you're a straight white male, anyway. If you're the black lesbian, maybe not. But if you're a straight white male, rigor and merit. Now, I've seen this firsthand multiple times when I've been part of interview panels or have interviewed, whether it be computer software engineers or civil engineers or mechanical engineer, anything where I've been involved in interviewing and selecting and or working with and maybe directing or they've been colleagues on a particular project, that sort of thing. The straight white males are always double head and shoulders above all the affirmative action degree. Now, they've been issuing engineering degrees to the proverbial black lesbian, but the proverbial black lesbian doesn't know jack shit about engineering or anything. They've been gifted an affirmative action degree simply for social engineering reasons rather than they've met a high standard of rigor. Now, in a lot of these STEM courses now, they offer questions in the exams. They offer questions to affirmative action candidates who never would have been in the course of merit in the first place. They offer questions like, what has been the effect of rocket science on the lives of women in Uganda? There'll be that sort of question. So the women all answer those, but they still get gifted the engineering degree or the master's or the PhD. You don't know that they've just answered a stupid feminist question or affirmative action feminist. They've got the same degree as the straight white male. But when you sit down and talk to them about what they know, the straight white male knows that the straight white male has reached a meritorious standard of rigor, whereas the minority person has reached no such standard of rigor. And this applies in the third world as well. So the Brahmins, the upper caste social caste in India, it's considered to be a mandatory matter of prestige that your son or daughter has a PhD. And that now there will be some, obviously, and there are 1.5 billion people in the continent. So surely there'll be some there that are very bright, not very many. And even the ones that are bright, they don't have to make the effort because their wealthy, well-connected family can just demand at the university, I want my son to have a PhD, and do what you're fucking told. Or they pay a bribe or they whatever. So very few. I haven't met a single Indian PhD, not one. And they must exist, by the way, just I haven't met them. A single Indian PhD that has got their PhD, the ones I've mainly met are in computer science, by the way, but has got their degree on merit. And not one of them's got it. They've all got it through bribery in a country where bribery is how things are done. So how many geniuses are there out there outside of the Western bloc who are non-white? Very, very few. There'll be some, but very, very few. And how many of those are needed in the United States? Let's suppose you need some bright people to do your rocket science program. Now, I would. I mean, this is how I would approach it. I would say, okay, get some really bright guys together. Maybe you've got an application exam that separates the bright ones, or something like it. Look, anyone who's interested in working, I'm Elon Musk for the moment. Anyone who's interested in coming to work for, SpaceX, come along now, we're holding exams all over the country. They will be rigorous exams. They will be marked and graded, very tough grade, and marked. You're not going to get any easy free. I don't care whether you're a black lesbian or this or that or a minority. You will be rigorously marked and tested. But for any who show promise or make the grade or come close, then I would set up a cram school to say, okay, you guys are pretty close to what I need. I'm now going to set up this cram school here, and I'm going to give you, and I'll pay you for this. You've got a 6 or 12-month course, and you're going to have to bust your ass, baby. And again, the course will be rigorously administered and you'll be tested. But for those that make it through, you'll be what I want in terms of capability and so on. You'll be what I want, and then I can offer you good jobs. So 12 months, the problem will be solved, assuming there is a shortage, which I don't believe there is. So the problem, is there a skill shortage? I don't believe there is. But were there to be one, then there are a lot of easy remedies at hand. The idea that, well, the only thing we can do is get them from India and Nigeria. What a fucking load of bullshit. Let's go look at this other argument. Come up that, well, if we don't bring these people to America, they're all going to set up these hugely successful companies in Nigeria and India. No, they won't. I mean, what a load of nonsense. If they did set anything up, they would rely 100% on the American consumer to get by. So I don't believe that. And America could, meanwhile, be setting up the American commercial sector, could in the meanwhile be setting up competitive organizations, which is a good thing, by the way. Commercial competition is a good thing. So I dismiss out of hand this idea that there is a skill shortage and that it can only come from India. Now, bear in mind that 75% of the H1B visa holders are given to Indians. So it's clearly this has become an Indian plaything, a toy that the Indian Brahmins can play with, and that American. But the idea they're bringing in geniuses or people who are highly skilled is bullshit. They're bringing in junior level accountants and in Australia they're bringing in 20-word a minute typists from Ouagadougou in Africa on the basis because they can type 20 words a minute, they're skilled. So I mean, the whole thing is being scammed and horribly abused. Now, how many genius people are there in India who could genuinely be used that are not available in the United States or not available in the Western Bloc? I don't know. Would there be even a handful each year? What would you get? 50 visas a year? I'm not talking about 50,000 or 500. I'm talking 50, 100, 200. They'd be in those sort of numbers. The idea that they'd be in 85,000 or that's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. So now, if those Indians want to come to, in the numbers they are, to join X, then they should be independently and rigorously tested as soon as they set foot in. Not online or not done some corrupt Indian bullshit scam school, but go through rigorous testing. I guarantee you, if that was done, the rigorous testing when they arrive, that 99% of them wouldn't make it. I guarantee it in advance. And that too illustrates, I believe, the extent of the scam. Now, the Indians see this H1B thing as an entitlement. It's just another scam way of getting residency and citizenship in a first world country. So they see the Brahmins, they see this as an entitlement, and they project this sense of outrage at their entitlement. But there are a class of people in India that have this sense of entitlement amongst their own people, let alone dealing with Westerners. And a lot of them have this galling attitude, especially in Australia, and I assume America and elsewhere, where they've come to Australia to sort of save Australia from all these lazy white people who won't do any work or something like that, while the Indians who come here are being shoveled huge numbers of affirmative action jobs that they in no way could they have earned those jobs in any sort of merit or competition with the locals. It's only through affirmative action they're getting it. But they seem to think that it's not just an entitlement, that it's a natural birthright because of their spiritual greatness or something like that. I can't work it out. I mean, none of them are any good. Not that I've noticed anyway. So that's my take on the H1B. Now, if anyone in the Trump administration or incoming administration is looking, I am more than happy to take the job of administering the H1B and the skilled visa program, but also the skills bridging program to make sure that American citizens have the skills and are given the bridging courses to acquire those skills, so that people like, Elon Musk or Ramaswamy and so on can, there's just no one around. There's no skills in America. I mean, that's crap. That's utter crap. And if I was administering the scheme, I'd make sure it worked to the benefit and for the benefit of American citizens, but without denying the skills and capabilities to American employers. You've been Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.